Ooh, that looks tasty.
In time, we will show that our civilization is the greatest civilization of them all.
Wow. How are we going to do that? Are we going to have lots of armies?
No.
Are we going to have lots of cities and towns?
No.
Culture?
No.
Then what?
We're going to show the world that we're the best by building a gigantic statue.
Welcome, folks. Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another Kickstarter preview, and today we are talking about monuments designed by Keep Exploring Games. Now, before I get started, please do make sure you turn on your Klingon subtitles, because if I make any mistakes in the rules overview, that's where you'll find those corrections. Additionally, I do need to point out that everything you see here is still in the prototype phase with lots of generic components. Things are going to look different, and these monuments here are just 3D printed, and the Colossus of Rhodes here didn't quite survive the shipping, so it's kind of leaning and not standing up perfectly straight. Obviously, those will stand up straight in the end. So what Monuments is it is a 4X style civilization building game. And what you're trying to do is to be the first one to complete your wonder of the world. And you'll notice I have it set up as just half of the world here. There's actually the much bigger map has another half, but I've been playing the game solo, and you only use half of the world when you play solo. Now, if you are not interested in how this game is played and want to jump into my final thoughts, then you want to go to the timestamp on the screen right now. For those of us still here, we're going to do a lightning quick overview of how this game works, because at its core, everything's going to feel fairly familiar to you if you've ever played a civilization building kind of game. And I did call it a 4X game. I don't know that I should be saying a 4X game, because you're not really exploring, you're expanding. So I guess it's a 3X game, whatever. Hopefully you understand what it is that I'm saying. What's going to be happening is each player is going to be a civilization, which at its core is going to be the same with some minor differences, which are going to be determined by each player's individual personal bonus deck, which gives them different starting setups, and as they go through, they get different bonuses as they build more and more levels of their monuments. And each player will have a starting power as well that is different, and they're all pretty well balanced. And the core of the game is, on your turn, you will either play a card or pick up all of your cards. That is all you're going to be doing. And I'll show you the cards in 1 second. But what those cards are going to be allowing you to do is they're going to allow you to move things around on the map. I should also say that I finished a game and then I accidentally started taking things off the board. So I'm just kind of throwing things back out here haphazardly just to kind of let you see some stuff on the board. But what you're going to be doing is you'll be using your cards to get yourself more workers, which in a delightfully scientific fashion is done only if you have a town and at least 2 workers already in the town. Then I guess you call the stork, and then you have another worker. Or you'll be giving yourself ships, or you'll be giving yourselves armies or air forces or whatever it may be. With cards, you'll be using cards to move around on the continent or through the ocean. You'll be using cards to produce things off of, depending on what hex you're on, which might be livestock, it might be food, it might be wood, it might be metal. You get the idea. If you've played a game like this before, you know what's going on. You might be building towns, you might be building forts, you might be building bridges over rivers that might wind up being out there. So there we go, look at that. We have a river, and now we have a bridge over the river. And the game, as I said, is going to end when someone builds the 5th layer of their monument, which, as you can see here, I have my little monument right here. It starts out, you build your first piece, and you just have a base. Same thing for the Colossus, you get the feet. But then, as you continue to build, and every time you build it costs different things, you are slowly increasing the size of your wonder until eventually you have built the whole thing, like so. And there's 4 different wonders in the game. I should say monuments, I should call them in the game. And the core of how you are doing that is with the cards. I told you, you're going to put down a card, you're going to pick up a card. You're going to have all of these 10 different cards in your hand. As you can see, you can trade, you can train a military unit, you can draw quest cards, you can attack, build your monument, build a building, move, produce, upgrade a card, or populate. And the upgrade's important because when you upgrade a card, you're going to pay the resources on the card you want to upgrade, Then you flip it over and it's permanently better. But that's it. That's the game. That is all you are doing. You are putting stuff out and you're managing your cards here. Which ones are you going to upgrade? Which ones are you going to play? Because remember, once you play a card, it's discarded until you take a turn to pick all of them back up. The only other thing I need to talk about is combat, because combat, again, is super, super simple. Every combat unit has a certain strength. And strength's also determined by the type of land you're on, and if there's a fort or a town or whatever where you're attacking, will be a certain number of dice that it will get you. You roll the dice each side, and then you add up the numbers you have on the dice. Whoever has a higher number wins, and depending on by how much you win by, your opponent has to lose or damage a certain amount, a correlating amount of their units. Done, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And then once someone has built the final layer of their monument, everyone gets one final turn, you finish the game, and then you add up your score, and your score is going to be determined by how many quests did you accomplish. And if you remember, one of your cards is draw new quests, and the higher the monument you've built, the more valuable the quests potentially are. And quests can get you negative points if you don't finish them. So there is that little bit of a balance that's in there. And you're going to add up other things like, were you the one that actually finished your monument? How many resources do you have? How much land do you have? How much military power do you have? And on and on and on, like you do in a lot of these Civ games. It's quite a lot of different things that you're going to be adding up for your final score. Not only that, each player was going to have their own unique scoring conditions, which makes final scoring just ever so slightly different as well. And I also said that I spent a lot of my time playing against the AI. The AI is super, super simple. You set them up as a two-player game, and they have their own set of unique AI cards, and they tell you exactly how those are going to work. And you simply draw one out, do what it says. If you can't do anything, they don't do anything unless you're playing on hard or insane, in which case, if they can't do it, you draw a new one until they can do something. And that's it, folks. Like, I just zipped through that in just a few minutes on how you play this game, because it truly is that simple at its core. So what do I like about this game? Obviously, these monuments are super cool. And I know I was not the first person, or maybe even the second person to have these, though. They're a little bit broken since they've gotten to me. But they are very cool. In the same way that playing Lords of Hellas is very cool to build up these monuments, it is fun. It is a very cool toy factor. I also have to say, I really do like the core of the game. I do like that it is relatively very, very simple, and you're just going to play one of these cards every single turn. But the decision space within these 10 cards is huge, because you have to really figure out what it is that you are trying to do, when it's going to be okay for you to not take an action so you can pick everything back up. When are you going to use your resources, which just stay out on the board? When are you going to use those resources to upgrade a card versus, are you going to build a town now? Are you going to build a town so you can then get enough workers in there so you can get more little tiny baby workers? Or the decision space is huge, as is the decision space of when you're actually going to attack somebody. Because again, you have to move things into position. You have to be in the right spot. Maybe you're trying to go across the water, so you're going to have to get some boats so you can take your troops across the water. Not to mention you have to be able to make troops, or you have to have your workers, and somehow you have to give them weapons so they can go fight. And it's just so many choices that you have to make as you're building your civilization. And I do think that is very clever. But mostly what I really do appreciate is the simplicity of it. It's just very simple. Once you figure out what you're doing, the game is incredibly simple to play within that huge decision space. And I do think that is very, very clever and well done. I particularly think that this is a game that if you can get to the table with the max player count, I do think it will be a blast if you are into the Civilization style games. I think it is quick enough that it won't be hard. You're not going to be spending 4 hours playing like you might on something like a Lords of Hellas. Don't at me if you actually can play a game of that in 90 minutes. You know what I'm saying, I hope. And again, I do like that. I tend to enjoy this style of game when it goes quicker rather than long and drawn out. So what are my quibbles with the game? And my first quibble is with the rulebook itself. Now, to be fair, these are prototype rulebooks, especially the solo mode is very early prototype, so there are definitely things still being worked out. But there were definitely parts of the game that I really had to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how it worked. I spent some time going and watching some other videos, just to make sure I really understood. And there were some times when I just kind of had to make a choice of what I thought it said. Do I think that'll be fixed? I do, but it is just something to make sure you pay attention to. When the rulebook is posted for you to look at, make sure you check it out. Get in the campaign, ask those questions so that can be fixed. And I do know that the designers are very receptive to feedback, or at least it seems that they're very receptive to feedback. My next quibble with the game is the combat system. I like dice a lot. I really do. But I don't know that I like the dice combat in this style of game. And the reason I say that, and if you watch my Dwellings of Eldervale video, you're saying, well, you said you liked the dice combat and that, and it was totally random and whatever, hungry. And you're right, but the difference is, in the Dwellings of Eldervale, you're just kind of putting your troops out. It's very quick. And this, it's not easy to get your troops on the board. It can be hard. And then you can put together a rather overwhelming force and you can still lose. I often don't like determinative combat, but I almost wonder if it might not make this game work better if it wasn't dice combo, something that you have your military strength, and maybe there's some cards or something you play, or maybe you roll like 1 or 2 dice to cut down the potential swinginess of the dice combat. So it's a quibble, and I'm not really sure where I stand on it at this moment because I have not played enough of the game to really, really dive into that, but it's something to watch for. The next thing that is a quibble for me is a quibble that I always have with any kind of civilization game is the anachronistic nature of it. The fact that I can have a plane when I'm still building the Colossus of Rhodes is always wacky to me. It's just like all those other civilization games when you have spaceflight and you have yet to develop iron. It's always an odd thing to me, but I assume if you enjoy civilization games, then it doesn't bother you whatsoever. And the last thing that I'll touch on is in my quibbles, not because I don't think it works, but because I still need to know more. The solo mode is very much in the beta phase. Absolutely, very much so. They're still working on it. And the core of it, I think 100% works. The core of the solo mode works, and I think it will work. I wasn't in love with it right now. I found times where the AI was just doing stuff that, well, it just wasn't, it was really stupid. Or I was having to make choices. And for me, when there's an AI out there, I don't want to make a lot of choices. I don't want to have to make that choice regularly. Well, I should go there because that's actually better for them because if I was playing that side, this is what I would do. Because then I'll just set up and play two-handed. So it's a quibble for me because it's not done yet. I think when it is done, I think it'll work. But again, something for you just to check out. So there you have it, folks. That is Monuments coming back to Kickstarter. I think this is a game with a lot of potential. I think when those rules get squared away and everything is clear, and I think if you can get several people to the table and play 3 and 4 players, this game will really sing for you if you like this civilization kind of game. And obviously these monuments are friggin' awesome. Hands down, one of the most fun little toys I played with in a game anytime recently. So there you have it, folks. That is Monuments. Again, if you like civilization games, I do think you need to at least check this out because it does do things that are different than all the other civilization games that I have played. To be fair, I haven't played them all, but I've played enough of them that it does feel somewhat fresh, particularly the way this card play works that makes the game really pop and keep moving. So there you have it, folks. If I made any mistakes in the rules overview, please let me know in the comments with a timestamp. I'll get that into the Klingon subtitles. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.